was the one who said I loved you first. It was about 8 years ago. Don't act like you don't know. We were sitting at home in your mama's living room, 'cause you couldn't be alone. See, your mama knew I was something else. She knew how I felt. Back then we were in school, and that's your favorite excuse. See, growing up I was a fool, and I can't lie, I'm missing you. Listen and don't trip. Think I need a bottle with a genie in it. Here's my wish list.
Good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Katie, and you're listening to WHIT Radio, and you're here with the girls.
And
Mr. Puccino. Joining me today is Elizabeth, Alessandra, Kevin, and Haroon. Today we'll be discussing various topics regarding adoption. Adoption is a rising thing in the United States.
Okay, relax.
International adoption is one of the most prominent forms of adoption that we use here in the U.S. However, lately many people have been saying there should be a ban on international adoption for reasons such that government officials in some places have been discovered that they have been corrupt and kidnapping children from places such as in the Hunan province in southern China and selling them on the black market to Americans who think that these children have been given up by their parents. However, some people say that still we have no way to prove that any of this is completely happening, and that as Americans we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to ban international adoption would be a violation of our right to do as we wish, as long as we harm no one in the process. So what do you guys think about this?
I agree that it's American rights that we should be able to adopt, and I think like most of the adoptions are international. So I think we should have international adoption.
Well, I guess I'm in on this program, so I think we should still have international adoptions. Very, very important to have that. We have quite a few students in this school that have been adopted and brought over from Eastern countries. But I think it has to be better regulated, and I think it has to be certain things have to be better enforced, which they're not. And I think it needs a complete revamping of what we're doing, and the whole situation has to be looked at again and see what we can do to improve it.
It said that if we banned international adopting, wouldn't we be promoting racism?
That's true. I agree with that.
That's a good point.
So what do you think should be done if, like, let's say in the hypothetical situation that someone has had a child for years that was kidnapped from China or some other place, and they find out that this child has been taken away from their parents?
I think they have to return it. If they've been kidnapped and the parents didn't sign off on it legally, then it's kidnapping. And unfortunately, I'm sure bonds have been made, and everybody is close at this point, and it's going to be heartbreaking, but it has to go back to their rightful parent. It's kidnapping against the law, and unfortunately, the kid has to go back. Now, if going back means into a very unhealthy situation, then that really should not happen. If it's going back into chaos or a dysfunctional family, then I think the kid's better off where they are. But if the family was intact and just kidnapped, the kid has to be returned.
Yeah, I agree that it definitely depends on the family, like the first family, but it's also illegal. So I definitely think that it should go back and then make it legal for the people who kidnapped them to be the parents if they're better suitable.
Yeah, and it would definitely be a hard time, obviously, if the child and his parents have a connection and then he has to go back, and that's pretty tough.
Yeah, So, good question, though.
And guys, I want to bring up a very important,
Interesting
controversial
question to
topic.
ponder.
Basically, a controversial topic. It has to do with gays and lesbians being able to adopt children.
Oh yeah.
Why not? I mean, if they're functional and they can be great parents. It isn't so much to me sexual preference as much as are they going to be good, caring, responsible parents, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that too because it doesn't matter what they are. It's just the family life has to be better for this kid. So if they're more suitable than any other parent, then they should.
I think as long as they're cared for, that's really all that matters. So we shouldn't be thinking about the sexual orientation of someone and really.
I'm going to actually dispute that. So basically, the problem with gays and lesbians being able to adopt is not the fact that it's to humans of the same sex. The thing is, in every family, you need a fatherly figure and a motherly figure. And if you have two of both, how are you supposed to, like...
Well, you have two figures, and they're going to be two different types of people. You're labeling father and mother as a traditional way of looking at it, but they're going to be two impactful people in this person's life, and if they can, whatever role they want to take or whatever, if they're good people and they can take care of children, why do we have to kind of label it?
Yeah,
You know?
that also brings up really single parent adoption and kids who only have one parent. Does that mean like if someone has, like, let's say their father runs off or something, does that mean that that child shouldn't stay with its mother, or certain situations like that? You know, some women who don't want to get married are perfectly capable of raising children, and they do, and we shouldn't take that right away from them.
There are so you know, I don't know too much about China, but I do know something about Africa, and there's so many kids, 5, 4, 6 years old, being taken care of by older brothers and sisters that are 9 and 10. And that's what's happening there, because a lot of these countries have been decimated by AIDS. And there's so many orphan children that if there's any way that one person or two people can take care of these kids, I'm all for it. You know, so I mean, it's the health of the household. That's the most important thing to me. Traditional father and mother is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but we also have to look at alternatives to that, and they can be just as good, really. So that's the way I look at it.
Considering the previous topics regarding like the parental rights and rights of the children, we also can really consider the question, how long for children in the foster care system, how long should we wait to terminate parental rights in situations where the children have been removed, let's say, because they can't be taken care of, even if they do have a traditional mother and father.
Right. What's the time limit on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's
go ahead,
tough.
Allie.
I think it has to also do with the bond that they create within the house, but there has to be a certain amount of time that the family gets used to it, that the family likes the kid and the kid likes the family, so it goes both ways. I think a year or more. Around that
I would
age.
think a minimum of 1 year.
Yeah.
And then the two families have to be evaluated. I mean, the foster care home and also the home that the kid came from. And if the kid came from a home that's got itself back together, then I think the kid should be returned to that home. But if they evaluate that home's not going to get back together or it's unhealthy, then I think after a year you can start proceeding with the situation.
And you have to look at like safety regulations in the house and like all that, and that takes a while.
Yeah. So, but I would say if we're looking at a time period, maybe starting at a year.
And what kind of regulations do you think that a parent of a child who, let's say, was a drug addict and
Yeah.
her child got removed from her home,
Right.
what kind of regulations do you think she should have to meet in order to get
Well,
her child back? Like,
She has to be off drugs. She has, number one, she has to be clean.
I say
Yes.
at least be clean for a year.
Yeah.
Do you think
And
she
then
should?
keep looking at her, like
Yeah.
keep getting her tested every
Like
whatever
month
2 months
or something, 2
yeah.
months.
Do you think
Yeah.
she should be qualified to work and things
Yes,
like that?
she
and
has
things
to
like
be
that?
able to hold down a job
Yeah.
and actually have a job, and not just be capable of holding a job, but actually have one,
Yeah, she needs to
Yeah.
provide
Yeah.
income for the baby.
or him,
Yeah.
or both of them. Whatever the household is, but and that's not the easiest thing to evaluate. Somebody can clean up for a month, and they're better, and then they can backslide and they're on it again. Drug addiction is a very insidious and evil kind of disease, actually, and can reoccur at any time. Look at Philip Seymour Hoffman, the actor. He was clean for supposedly 10, 15 years. He was off of it. Then he went back on for a month. So, and once they decide that the person's clean, they should, I think, have to go back for another year. I'm off of it. All right, you're off of it. We'll check in 3 months, and then surprise visits. Not unannounced surprise visits that see what's happening, and then after another year, I think you can start looking at it. So, 1 year, start evaluating it. Another year, if the person's on drugs or has drug abuse, another year on that.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it.
So, would you say that the parents' rights would be more important than those of the child?
No, never.
Yeah.
No, child's rights more important than the parents'
Yep.
rights. Okay.
Should always be about the child more than anybody else.
Okay, so for our final topic, do you think that so let's say someone was in the foster care system and went to a foster home and was adopted by their foster parents. And let's say the child had a parent who was a drug addict, and some of the parents' actions affected the child. So let's say it was addicted to some kind of drug because of their parent, and that ended up like creating autism or something within the child. Do you think that the prospective parents are entitled to see the family history of the parents whose child they're adopting?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's going to be their kids, so they should
Be
know
their
everything
kid.
about them.
Should have it. Yeah, you're right, Allie. A bit of information that will help that kid get raised by the new parents.
It will only help
is
the kid.
important. It'll only help the kid. On a personal note, I have a sister that's taken in many foster kids, and some of them worked out, some of them didn't work out. Some of them actually went back to their regular parents, and to only come back 3 months later or 6 months later to where my sister is, and some, I hate to say it, some kids, if you get them, if they come in at 14, 13, 12 years old, they're tough cookies already.
Okay.
They are tough cookies. They've really been, they've really been damaged, and it's hard to reach them, so.
So this has been a pressing issue
Yeah.
because some people say that it's really nature versus nurture. You don't know what's hereditary and what's learned. So people are saying that, no, it's an invasion of the parents' rights. But
Yeah.
I don't really think, personally,
Yeah.
that it's that big of a deal. You should know what you might possibly have to deal with. Of course, there are always surprises and
Yeah.
things like that. But I think everyone should really be entitled to that kind of information.
Yeah, so It's
Okay.
a tricky situation.
Yeah.
All
Pretty
right.
tricky. Okay, so
Thank everybody.
so thanks everybody. This is WHIT Radio. I'm your host Katie, and
You're listening to.
you're listening to the girls.
Okay.
Some kind
All
of
right.
kid.
All right.
Couldn't be alone because without you I'm sick. Here's my